Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulih al-Ameen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een wa ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everybody to our Zakat seminar, in which inshallah ta'ala we'll try our best to summarize as quickly as possible and the entire concept of Zakat and try to understand how the calculations of Zakat work. Bismillah. Intro to Zakat. What does Zakat mean? Linguistically, Zakat means blessing. It means purification. It means increase, or it also means goodness. So these are all linguistic meanings of the term Zakat. Zakat means a purification. So when a person engages in Zakat, what they are engaging in is purification of their wealth, but more importantly, purification of their heart. This is the important thing. Tazkiyah. Zakah from tazkiyah, which means purification. Increase, why? Because of the oath that the Prophet ﷺ took. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said 3 times, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, that by the one in whose hands is my soul, by the one in whose hands is the soul of Muhammad, by the one in whose hand is the soul of Muhammad, the money that is spent, the wealth that is spent in sadaqah, in zakah, in charity will never decrease. So what then is the meaning of this hadith? The Prophet is taking an oath. It will never decrease. That means naturally it will increase. So hence the meaning of zakah, increase. Alright? Increase. Purification. It purifies a person from stinginess. It purifies a person from becoming miserly, from becoming greedy. This is what zakah does to us on a spiritual level. So when a person is constantly counting every single penny, okay, I have, this much money in my account, now this much money has gone down, oh, what do I do? I'm thinking twice, should I give, shouldn't I give? SubhanAllah, what is happening? This person starts becoming greedy for wealth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, never will the money spent in the path of Allah ever be reduced. Now technically, it is the obligatory amount one must give to its rightful recipients of the wealth that has met certain conditions. Alright, this is the technical meaning. So when somebody says zakat, what does it mean? It's one of the pillars of Islam, and it is the obligatory, mandatory. A person is mandated to pay it to its rightful recipients. Walid, you can go through or take hold of the zakah guide, because we will be going through that, inshallah. So this is all interesting things that we are talking about zakah. So zakah is the right of the poor. It is their haqq upon the rich. So the rich are not doing the poor any favor. No, rather the existence of the poor is a favor on the rich. This is the paradigm shift you and I must engage ourselves in. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us the opportunity of zakah to get Jannah through these people. So zakah is the 3rd pillar of Islam, and therefore it possesses a very high status in the religion. However, some people refuse to pay the zakah. And when a person refuses to pay the zakah, he falls in one of 2 categories. The first is a person recognizes zakah as a pillar of Islam, but refuses to pay out of greediness, out of laziness. Then this person is engaging in something of the major sins, kaba'ir. And if there is a ruler under a sharia, proper sharia state, then such a person can be subjected to the laws of the sharia, and zakah can be taken from him or her forcibly. Number 2, the second category that a person can fall into is if a person outright denies that zakah has to be paid. That I don't believe I need to pay zakah anymore. Well, such a person is deemed a disbeliever. What is the evidence for this? The Ridda wars of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu, when a tribe of people said, we're not going to pay the zakah anymore. So they said, okay, if you're not going to pay the zakah anymore, then you are denying its obligation. So what is the punishment of the one who knowingly does not pay the zakah? So a person is fully capable but refuses to pay. Here is the hadith in Sahih Bukhari, and with an authentic chain. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, on the day of resurrection, the treasure or the wealth, the dollars, the account, the saving, the checking account that a person had, and zakat was not paid upon that, what will happen? That account, that treasure, that wealth, that money will appear in the shape of a huge bald male snake. And this poisonous snake will chase after its owner, will get hold of this owner. And the Rasul ﷺ added, by Allah, that snake will keep on following him until he stretches out his hand and lets the snake swallow up his hand. Why? Because that was the money with which you were holding on. That was the hand with which you were holding on to your money. May Allah protect us. So this person will undergo that. And the Rasul ﷺ added, if the owner of the camels does not pay their zakah, then on the day of judgment, those camels will come to him and will strike his face with their hooves. Some people said concerning a man who has camels and is afraid that zakah will be due on it, so what does this person do? Plays a smart game, quote unquote smart game, something that we see in our times. People try to behave in this manner. So what does this person do? He sells those camels off for similar camels or for sheep or cows or money one day before zakah becomes due to avoid the payment of the zakah. So he does not have to pay anything. So the Rasul ﷺ condemned this. The Rasul ﷺ has said that if one pays zakah of his camels one day or 1 year prior to the end of the year, his zakah will be valid. Alright? We will come to all of this. We'll come to the concept of the hawl, for example. What does hawl mean? So again, similarly, we are seeing here that the Rasul ﷺ said, or rather the Quran, Surah Tawbah, Surah 9, Ayah 35, on the day when it will all be heated in the fire of hell, and their foreheads and their flanks and their sides and their backs will be branded with the chains or the irons from the fire of hell. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, here is that which you hoarded for yourselves. So that treasure, that money, that wealth that a person kept on hoarding, not paying zakah, that will be used to punish such a person. And each one of these ahadith, dear brothers and sisters, you are going to notice that the very thing that a person is not paying zakah on is the instrument of their punishment. This is what Allah is saying. So the camels, the sheep, the cows that this person did not pay zakah on, these will be the very animals that will be torturing such a person and punishing them. Alright? So similarly, Allah is saying in Ayah 35 of Surah Tawbah, the very wealth that they use will be used to brand them. Now the recipients of zakah, who are the recipients of zakah? The recipients of zakah are 8 in number, and they are found in Surah Tawbah, Ayah 60. Memorize this, Surah 9, Ayah 60. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that your charity is due for the poor and the needy, the fuqara and the masakin, and those who collect them, meaning the zakah. So this is category number 3. So poor is category 1, needy category 2, who collect them category 3, and those whose hearts are to be reconciled. What does this mean? We'll talk about it. This is category number 4. And to free the captives and the debtors. Alright? So 5 and 6. And for the cause of Allah, 7 and 8, the wayfarer. A duty imposed by Allah. Verily Allah is knower and He is the wise. So let us talk about this. And there's a lot of grammatical nuance in this beautiful ayah. Simply we don't have time to get into. But because it's the month of Ramadan, most of us will be paying our zakah. So I want to zoom through this as quickly as possible. Maybe we'll do an in-depth seminar later if Allah gives us life, inshallah. So the poor. Who are the poor? So some say the poor and the needy are the same category. Abu Yusuf of the Hanafi school and Abu al-Qasim of the Maliki school hold this opinion. They both say that fuqara and masakin found in this ayah are not two different categories, but rather is one category. And that Allah uses the two terms distinctly as a means of emphasis on these people. So for these scholars, there are not 8 categories, but 7 categories. Is that clear, people? However, the vast majority of scholars say, no. These are 2 distinct categories. And they say the needy are much worse than the poor, the masakeen and the fuqara. So the fuqara are worse than the masakeen. And this is again the scholarly opinions regarding this. So a poor person is who then? Let us find out. A poor person is the one who does not achieve the nisab level. The poor, the faqir, are uncertain of their next meal. Is that clear? So the criteria is that a person is deemed poor if they cannot find work or employment. There is financial uncertainty in their life. Or the employment that is available is, this shouldn't be haram, and this shouldn't be halal, it should be haram. Okay?
I think it is halal.
It is halal?
Because you said if these elements are met, the person is not poor.
It's not poor. My bad. Good point. Somebody is paying attention. Alhamdulillah. So, the elements are met, then this person is not deemed poor. So this person can find work. This person is able to find halal income. The employment available is something that they are able to do. The employment must be within their capacity, and income must be sufficient for their family. If all of these criteria are met, what happens? This person is not deemed poor. Clear? Okay. Now, this is an example that was given. What if there is a person who is from a poor background but wishes to get into Islamic education, this, that, and the other? So the scholars have difference of opinions that here is someone who needs to study for the deen. And if this person needs to study for the deen, then this person will be deemed to be from the needy. Is that clear? Alright, now we come down here. Needy is the one that reaches or exceeds the nisab level, but this remains insufficient to fulfill their requirements. The needy are thought to have the bare necessities, yet they are uncertain of tomorrow. Is that clear? Okay, and now these are all, again, evidences to support that particular opinion. So that takes care of category 1 and 2. Alright? Category 3 of Surah Tawbah, Ayah 60, zakah workers. These are those people who collect the zakah. They are engaging themselves, they're putting in the effort to administer, to plan out, to collect, and to distribute your zakah to the poor. Well, who will pay them? What will be their salary? So their salary comes out of their zakah as per the Quran. Alright? So here are the categories or the conditions that must be met for the zakah collector. All of this we understand. Moving on to category number 4, those whose hearts need to be reconciled to the faith. Now here there's lots of discussion amongst the scholars. They talk about the example of Safwan ibn Umayyah, who was a non-Muslim. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after Fath Makkah, he granted Safwan handsome gifts. Lots and loads of camels and food items and commodities, all in the hopes that Safwan would accept Islam. All of that was taken from zakah collection. Okay? So if you see so the default ruling is what? Default ruling is that zakah cannot be given to sick kids. Give sadaqah to sick kids. It's fine. Give from your charity. But zakah goes only to Muslims. But then the Quran says those whose hearts are kind of like softening to Islam. So then here is an exception. The Quran says, here's an exception if someone you're giving da'wah to, and you think by giving monetary gifts, by giving financial perks every now and then, you feel that this person will, bi'idhnillah, inshallah, take the shahada, then go for it. Then no harm on you, go for it, you can give from your zakah. So new Muslims, for example, they say non-Muslims and all of these interesting tidbits. Alright, moving on to the next category. Those who are slaves who wish to buy their freedom. Okay, 2 categories here. A slave that wishes to buy his own freedom, he is eligible for zakah. A person who wishes to buy a slave solely to free such a person, he is also eligible for zakah. This category does not matter to us because we don't have slaves in our midst anymore. You want to talk about corporate slavery because you're a slave of your company and your boss, that's a different discussion. You're not contained within Surah Tawbah, Ayah 60. Alright? So, moving on to 6th, category number 6, those in debt. There are 2 categories of people here. The person is so heavily in debt that they have no means of repaying it. For this person to be eligible for zakah, the following criteria must apply. Number 1, the person must actually be in need of money. The debt which was taken was for halal purposes. So this person did not take out the debt because, mashallah, he wanted a new Mercedes C-Class, right? Green color, Masood Bhai, or is it turquoise color?
It's E-class.
It's E-Class. Oh man, I downgraded you. Sorry. So he wanted a, yani S-Class. So he wanted the best of the best. So no, that this person genuinely, he wants it for his halal purposes, okay? So subhanallah, such a person should be ensured, should be made sure that this person took it for halal means. The debt is due immediately, alright? This clause has to be there. It is the type of debt that one may face imprisonment for, meaning the debtor requests. In our time, there's a lien that is put in our country here, right? And there are different measures that can be taken. So for such a person, please, here are issues. Now this is all in the class, the teacher was discussing family disputes, this and that, so inshallah we can talk about it some other time. Category number 7, in the cause of Allah. What is the cause of Allah? In here is a lot of debate. Fi sabilillah. Historically, we have learned that fi sabilillah was a category that was confined to jihad. That the warriors who are going for jihad, to buy the artillery, to buy their weaponry, to take care of them, who will take care of their families in their absence, all of this, we can apply zakah money. But now, in our times, the scholars now make a category and they mention, well, the Quran says fi sabilillah. So we're going to now expand the meaning of fi sabilillah. And we will say, even da'wah organizations come under this. But do masajid come under this? And the answer is no. Masajid, zakah money does not come under. Masajid do not qualify, but da'wah purposes. So there is an organization that is fighting Islamophobia, for example. Absolutely. So there's Peace TV, for example, and he would mention that this is, according to the scholars of Islam, you can give zakah money. So yes, there's an overwhelming majority of scholars in our time who are saying, yes, fi sabilillah, you expand the meaning now. And you give it also to those scholars, da'is, imams, teachers, those who, if they go out engaging themselves in jobs, then who is going to guide the community, guide the ummah? So the community should give their zakat to them, to the scholars, to the teachers. And that's why you saw up there the talibul ilm or talibatul ilm, the one who wants to go and study Islam for 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, that the community should take care of them. So they're expanding the meaning, but historically the meaning has always been what? Jihad fi sabilillah. Alright, so I want you to have this clear. Now number 8, the wayfarer. What is the wayfarer? The wayfarer is the one who is traveling and they are running out of provisions to take care of themselves. So there are conditions that this person must meet. Again, you always see this. This person is traveling for halal purposes. Not that the FIFA World Cup is taking place, so mashallah, they're going for that, right? Or they're going for, a'udhu billah, some haram examples. There's no need for me to mention. They're not traveling for that, but for halal purposes. Insufficient funds to cover transportation until they reach their destination. They cannot secure a loan due to a lack of willing creditors. For such a person, you are allowed to, insha'Allah ta'ala, give from zakah. Alright? And the whole discussion then continues. Zakah cannot be given to, okay, this we should be clear. The family and descendants of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This includes the descendants of both the Banu Hashim and the Banu Muttalib. It should be clear in your minds that the Quraysh are not one group. The Quraysh is a major tribe. Underneath are many, many, many sub-tribes. Banu Hashim, Banu Asad, Banu Muttalib, these are all the names of the different sub-tribes within Quraysh. So particularly from them, the Banu Hashim and the Banu Muttalib. Now, question. In our times, everybody who calls themselves Sayyid, my name is XYZ Sayyid, and from the life and from the lineage of the Prophet ﷺ, does this person really become from the lineage of the Prophet? Not necessarily, unless they have a tree, family tree, and in our times, mashallah, tabarakallah, everybody has a family tree that goes back to the Prophet. Everybody wants to claim lineage to the Prophet, peace be upon him. But if it's established, then khalas, you cannot give zakat to them. But if it is established, they're not from the family of the Rasul ﷺ, then yes, zakah can be given to them. The next is those whom you are directly responsible for. So, can I give zakat to my father back home? My parents? No. My children, my wife? No. However, in your extended family, should you give zakat to those who are in need, who fulfill any of those 8 categories? They're masakin, they're fuqara, and they're from my extended family? Absolutely. It is a wonderful thing for you to do so. It's a great act of ibadah if you help them. Now what is amazing is you're noticing over here that a man who is responsible for his wife, children, family, he cannot give zakat to the wife, but what's fascinating is, can the wife give zakat to the husband?
Yes.
And the answer is yes. Why? Because she's not responsible for the husband. So if the wife is rich, mashallah, and the husband is a miskin, then she can ransom the poor guy. And she can give him her zakat. Alright? So here, then they mention all kinds of rewards here, inshallah. So zakah, this is the concept of zakah. So we've come to the end of this particular discussion. So this is the concept of zakah in a nutshell. Alright? That zakah is obligatory, zakah is mandatory. So let's move to the simple zakah guide. Alright? Bismillah. So you'll notice on page number 2, what is zakah? Then they talk about zakah, then they give the definitions, then they say zakah in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They mention how zakah is mentioned 32 times in the Quran. 32. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is bringing zakah so many times in the Quran. And of these 32 times, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or rather Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, pairs it up, and as you go through this, you'll find out, pairs this up several times with the salah. With the salah. So in 30 mentions, of the 32 mentions, zakah is mentioned in its technical meaning. Alright? And zakah is interlinked with the prayer 28 times, people. So you can imagine, this is what zakah is. 28 times it's interlinked with the zakah. So you'll notice this each time. All of you, alhamdulillah, are engaging in the recitation of the Quran in this beautiful month. You would see this. Alright, so who pays the zakah? Moving on to page number 4. Those required to pay zakah must be, number 1, adult. They have reached the age of maturity. Number 2, Muslims. So non-Muslims do not pay the zakah. 3, sane person, a person who is of sound mind and is not mentally ill. Alright? And what is interesting is that scholars from 3 schools of fiqh, other than those of the Hanafi school, state that zakah should be paid on qualifying wealth owned by children and those not of sound mind. Alright? So this is interesting. Sometimes you have children who own lots of wealth. So should zakah be paid? And the answer is yes. Majority opinion says yes. Because at the end of the day, what is happening? It's only going to increase in their wealth, inshallah. Number 2, so much khair is going to come out of it because needy people will be helped. Moving on, zakatable wealth. What is the zakatable, taxable, zakatable wealth? Number 1, complete ownership of the wealth. Okay? So you must have complete ownership of the wealth. What does this mean? This means that I can get access to that wealth, take it out at will, use it at will, change it, do whatever. That's the meaning of complete ownership. Number 2, free of haram income. Zakah is not due on haram income. Rather, one should dispose of that amount by giving it in charity and seek forgiveness from Allah. So when somebody has riba money, for example, they give it, it doesn't matter whether it's $1 of riba money or $10 million of riba money, give it out in charity and you expect 0 reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is wealth that would have destroyed you in the akhirah, in your grave, so you dispose off of it. Number 3, meets the nisab. What is this nisab issue? Nisab means the threshold, the minimum threshold of wealth a person must own at which zakah becomes payable. Nisab for gold is 20 dinars, which comes out to be 85 grams. And for silver, it is 200 dirhams, 595 grams. So this may come as a shock to you. I personally love the opinion that the nisab is not 85 grams of gold. The nisab is 595 grams of silver. Why do I love this opinion? Because then more Muslims are subjected to zakah. we take out zakah from as many Muslims as we can. Why? As a punishment? A'udhu billah. No. But to distribute their wealth, to, inshallah ta'ala, give them increase in their wealth. Because remember, one of the meanings of zakah is purity. So let the rich people, inshallah ta'ala, increase in their wealth and purify themselves. But of course, I know the famous opinion is the 85 grams. You're sticking to that. Bismillah, great. For myself and my wealth, I go with the silver, which is around $600, $700 nisab. So if I have $600, $700 in my account, and I have full ownership of it, and it has stayed with me for one whole lunar year, I will give zakah, 2.5% on that amount, okay? But you want to go with the 85 grams of gold, which is $2,500, $3,000, whatever, then that is, of course, a valid opinion, all right? Number 4, one lunar year passes over the wealth after receiving the nisab amount. So if a person had, for example, you're following the 85 grams of gold threshold, you have it, but before the one lunar year, Islamic year ends, that money leaves you, either because you've invested it, or, well, we shouldn't just say invested it, but basically there was loss or whatever, you had to pay loans that were on your head, and that therefore you come below the nisab level before the lunar year runs out, the zakah man will not come after you. Okay? The zakat collector will not come after you. Moving on to page number 8, or rather page number 5, they talk about the same 8 categories of zakat that we've discussed, so we do not go into that. Page number 6, how do I calculate my zakat? Let's move on to number 7 and 8. That is the meaty and the juicy issue of our entire discussion, inshallah. Part A, everybody's eyes on page number 7 and 8. So let's begin with page number 7. Cash and liquid assets. If you have access to money, cash and liquid investments, these are all subject to zakah. You should include cash in all your bank accounts, in your wallet, and under your mattress. Every money that you have, cash that you have, it is subject to zakah. If interest has been earned, again, the same idea, you dispose off of that interest, you cannot add it. But rather, the zakah will be calculated on your principal amount. Alright? Moving to number 2, gold and silver. What about gold and silver? Yes, there is the opinion that gold and silver that is worn for the purposes of decoration by our ladies, our wives, our sisters, our daughters, that if their niyyah is never to sell it off, then there is no zakah on it. Okay, there is this opinion amongst the scholars. Yes, there is. Okay, so what they say is you pay zakah once in your lifetime on it. But the stronger opinion is the one by the Hanafi school. The Hanafi school says no, because the hadith are authentic, where there were girls who came in front of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and they were wearing bracelets of gold, and the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to the mother, has zakah been paid on these? She said no. So the Rasul said that, do you want these to be branded by fire, these same wrists to be branded by fire in the fire of hell? So remember, the other scholars are not, babies or kids. They say, well, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not say paid all the time. So it's one time, okay? So again, back and forth. Easy issue, easy way out is pay zakah on it yearly, inshallah. It doesn't harm you, it's only going to increase you. Remember, zakah pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sadaqah, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam took an oath, he swore by Allah 3 times, it'll only increase your wealth. So we go, in this case, with the Hanafi school, which says you pay zakah on gold and silver. Now, question, lots and lots of scenarios, and I don't have much time. So, we'll discuss this in more detail with Allah ta'ala next time. My jewelry that my wife wears, or my daughters, or my family, or that I own, alright? It has rubies, diamonds, it's made of platinum, it's made of this, that. What do I pay zakah on? The entire value of it? And the answer is no. There is no zakah on precious stones, emeralds, or topaz, or whatever, rubies and pearls, no zakah on them, even if they're $50 million, no zakah on them. Zakah is only on the metal, on the gold, on the silver. How do I determine the value of it? Easy peasy, go to the jeweler. Go to the jeweler, ask him, what is the value of this piece of jewelry? Of only the gold. Tell me. And that person will tell you X number of dollars. You take that, boom, 2.5% on that, you're done. Okay, easy as that, inshallah. Debts owned to you. If debts are owned to you, these are of two categories. So there's a debt that is soft, or for lack of a better term, a debt that you know that you will get back from somebody. Okay, this person took $10,000 from you, but this person will return that money to you. You add it as if you have it with you, and you put 2.5%. But if you know it is a kind of debt that's a lost cause, this brother kept on telling you, okay, I'll give you back the money, I'll give you back the money 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, like, you know what, bad debt, it ain't coming back ever. So you then subtract that from your wealth, inshallah. Moving on to scenario 4, shares and investments. So there are two scenarios here under shares and investments. Scenario 1, day trading or short-term trading. This is what a person does by dabbling in trading. He has a broker, he talks to this person, and this person does short-term trading for them. So what do? Do you add it to your zakat portfolio because you have a product mix, different investments? And the answer is yes. You will add it to your investments, you will find the cash value of it, and you will add it to your wealth, inshallah. The second scenario is long-term investments. So what do you do with long-term investments? This becomes a bit more interesting. You calculate an amount called Y. And what this means is you will look at the investments or shares that you have in a particular company. You find the cash value in the market today. Clear? Then you add that to the accounts receivables. Then you add it to the inventory. So the inventory of the merchandise, for example, of the business that you are dealing with. What is the inventory value? You now divide that by the total shares of the company. That gives you amount Y. That amount Y now you will multiply by the number of shares you have in that company. That will give you a dollar amount, 2.5% of that. That will give you your number. Right? Now, what if my investments have been with somebody for X amount of time, and now I'm going to cash out everything, whether it's day trading, whether it's long term, whether it's short term, and I'm going to cash it out. Well, the day you cash it out, boom, you apply 2.5%. Clear, people? Inshallah. Brilliant. Property and other fixed assets. What about property and other fixed assets? Well, the house that you live in, do you pay zakah on it, people?
No.
Perfect. The car that you drive, do you pay zakah on it? No. So the things that you use, you have a Rolex, mashallah, nice watch that is, $50,000, you don't pay zakah on it. All right? Hopefully it doesn't have gold and silver in it, but you don't pay zakah on it. All right? So what do you pay zakah on? Your niyyah, your intention. So you bought a plot of land. You bought a house. So your niyyah is to do what? To keep it as investment value, and you put it on the market. You're waiting when the price will go up, and that will be awesome. You're waiting for it. Well, you have the option here that you will give zakah on it yearly. So you bought a house for investment purposes, $200,000. Clearly, you can buy it in the GTA, because if you buy $200,000, maybe all you'll get is a door frame. So you bought a house $200,000. So you are putting it in the market. Next year it becomes $300,000. You put 2.5% on $300,000. The following year it becomes $400,000. You're going to put 2.5% on $400,000. Okay? That's how you keep going. All right? So this is how, because your niyyah, it is in the market that you plan to sell it. And then, alternatively, so that's one thing you can do. Alternatively, you have it, you keep it, you're not giving zakah on it, the day that you sell it. So you bought it 200,000, 10 years later, mashallah, tabarakallah, it's 2 million. You'll give 2.5% on 2 million on sale of it. Okay? Now, remember, the deen is beautiful, it's just. We're not saying, okay, you're going to give, take out the commission that you'll pay the taxes, the property, this, that, and the other, take out the HSC and whatever, and then on the profit, you put the 2.5%, inshallah. Moving on, rental income. You have rental income. I have a house, I've invested in apartment, condo, whatever. Rental income comes in, it is a business you're running. So what do? Take out monthly expenses, maintenance, whatever, wear and tear, whatever. Take out all of that. Your profit that you have in hand, 2.5% on that. Okay? So that takes care of our property and other fixed assets. Moving forward, number 6, pension funds, RRSP, RESP, TFSA, and others. This comes under 2 categories. Keep it simple for yourself. What is that? If you take out your RRSP, you will incur heavy fines. You will incur penalties and things like that. It comes under the category of, do you have full access or don't you have full access? If you don't have full access, no zakah on it. Right? No zakah on it. So, for example, your pension fund. So when you hit the age of whatever, inshallah, and then 65, 70, you get that lump sum bulk of money out, yes, you'll give 2.5% on that. Is that clear? But for now, I can't even play around with it. I can't say, let me take out some money like my debit card. You can't do that, correct? Because you cannot do that, no zakah on it. But if you want to give zakah on it out of your own goodwill, then you calculate, you estimate how much, Uncle Sam is going to take from you of penalties and how much heavy taxes you will incur. Take that out from the principal and then give 2.5% on that. Okay? Just out of your goodwill, inshallah. And then we move on to business assets and a lot of other things to discuss. And that comes to the end of our zakah calculations. Let's begin the Q&A. Any questions, people?
Are you using projector?
No projector. We're done.
Lot of questions.
Yes, Hamad bhai. Bismillah. Let's try to attempt it in 2 minutes.
I'll just begin.